The Crypto Markets Update is brought to you by OKCoin, the best place to find the next crypto gem.
A big day for news like this, you're going to require more than one guest. So joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is Jason Lau, Chief Operating Officer at crypto exchange OKCoin, and Matthew Sigel, Head of Digital Asset Research at ETF and Mutual Fund Manager, VanEck. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome, Jason and Matthew.
Morning.
Hello. So, ETH, what happened? How come it's not up today? What happened? Seriously, I mean, everyone was talking about once the merge happens, the institutions are going to have confidence that this thing works. The merge happened. Well, now it's they were all buying it because they were waiting for ETH POW, but really, I don't know. What's the real story? Why are we seeing it down right now?
Hey, Lawrence. I mean, I think it's because the NASDAQ is down, frankly. Like, there's plenty of examples of big crypto developments, including Bitcoin halvings, where, the price traded in a range for weeks or months before. It just takes one major stakeholder to make a decision to buy after some stability in the network. That can take days, weeks, months, who knows, right? I think just we should remember that this is a fundamental de-risking. That if you look at the amount of ETH that's been staked onto the beacon chain, onto now ETH 2.0, there's been more ETH staked in the last 6 hours, 4 times more ETH staked in the last 6 hours than all of the prior day before. So it seems pretty clear that those who are in the markets are now making the decision to commit and lock up that liquidity, and that's probably a trend that will continue over time. So the early results are, I think, pretty encouraging, notwithstanding the price action.
I think everyone was up late watching the merge live stream, and maybe that's why no one's quite awake to trade the markets yet. But I agree with Matthew. I think a lot of traders were already well positioned ahead of this. The merge in itself, in practicality, doesn't make any impact or changes to the end user or developers. Nothing's changed, like Sandeep says. We're just all glad and can take a deep breath that the merge was successfully completed, and a lot of the downside risk has now been eliminated. We've at OKCoin, we've spent a lot of time, months, preparing for this event, and so we're just glad that our teams can take a break now and put aside a lot of our playbook just in case things didn't go well.
Well, I don't think they can take a break, because the markets are 24/7. So I think you need to crack the whip over there. But are you seeing? What are you seeing in terms of volumes over at OKCoin? Are you seeing that? Have they been subsiding over in ETH when it comes to ETH? And also, same thing to you, Matthew. But after Jason answers, if you can, what's the interest going on with the future with ETH related products on your end? But first, Jason.
Yeah, just real quickly, I took a peek prior to this. As usual, Bitcoin volumes are actually higher than ETH volumes. So that could be a function of our institutional players and retail users. But yeah, it really hasn't been particularly interesting on that front in terms of volumes.
Yeah, in terms of flows, we continue to see inflows every month, both into our listed products in Europe and our actively managed private funds in the U.S., and that's coming from pension funds, endowments, high net worth. So, that activity's been kind of steady. It's going to take a bigger move in Bitcoin, in my opinion, to really animate institutional investors to allocate more aggressively to this move. And then, post the merge, we're seeing a normalization, a pretty decent spike in the price of staked ETH. So there is more confidence around how this consensus mechanism works, and more commitment to locking liquidity for meaningful amounts of time, many months here. But in order to get the asset class moving overall, Bitcoin's going to have to move. And some of the hyperactivity in the futures and options market, we're seeing that normalize. Like spot volumes are pretty muted, but derivatives markets are normalizing. Some of that's flowing into Bitcoin already. That's why it's outperforming today. And then let's see what narratives emerge over the next few months, like without a change in the macro, which is the biggest variable.
It's interesting you say that, Matthew, because the trade to make was there were a lot of shorts on Ethereum perpetuals, and I wonder what you think, why that bet was made, and why it was so popular, and what the move is here on out.
Yeah, I mean, I think people were just trying to get like over allocated to spot and using the futures and options market to hedge that, and that will normalize. But their overall allocation to Ethereum, will probably grow over the next few months and quarters as they stake to the Beacon chain or the new ETH. And you can see it in the price of Lido today, which is outperforming, and you can see it and just the amount of ETH that's staked to 2.0, which, like I said, there's more in the last 4 hours than there was in the 24 hours prior. So we need to see that continue to accelerate, I think, to get momentum, but the early indication is reasonably positive.
Yeah, and Jason, you mentioned that OKCoin had to do a lot in preparation for this event. Maybe you could tell us what kind of things you had to do and what, if anything, users should be on the lookout for.
A lot of the work we did was really just to make sure that in the event things didn't go right, we had the proper planning and playbooks in place. As with any sort of upgrade, we do a lot of this already, but this one was particularly important, and we really wanted to make sure we had everything in place. We had teams up all night to make sure that was ready. And then on top of that, we want to make sure that customers don't get impacted, whether they need to do anything to upgrade their token. We wanted to make sure they're properly communicated as well and kept up to date with the merge as it happened.
Jason,
thankfully,
question.
that all played out well.
If there is a fork with ETH
Yes.
proof of work, is that something that OKCoin would support?
So we've again prepared for that too. We're ready. We took snapshots of all users' account balances. We're regulated here in the U.S., so we can't say definitively one way or another before our compliance and legal teams get to take a look. And as you mentioned earlier in the show, that this token is a bit hypothetical right now. So we'll keep an eye on it.
Matthew, just finally, I just wanted to follow up something you said earlier, which I think is a key point in that, the reason markets are down is because the NASDAQ is down, right? And that has just been a continuing narrative with crypto for a while. And it's sort of like, some would argue that this is a little bit problematic, right? That, you have this massive historic event in crypto, and basically the crypto market is just kind of following the traditional equities market. So I guess my question for you is like, when is that going to shift, right? Because that's been sort of the narrative for a while. And do you see a point where we're going to finally see the little bit of, independence in the crypto economy from the equities market? Because it's just kind of been like, that's really the story here, right? That it's just like, they're sort of operating in tandem, and it doesn't really matter what happens in crypto because it's all just following sort of the equities market.
Yeah, I largely agree with that. Like what we had last night was a major development on the supply side. ETH is now deflationary since the merge. Now we need the demand side to come through, and that means larger businesses committing to settling value on chain. And that's going to take time, right? In the meantime, like developer activity is falling, on-chain activity is somewhat stagnant. So maybe we get some multiple expansion from this, but we need commitment to building and using the chain, translating into actual fundamentals, transactions, killer apps. And like when that comes through, that's when you'll have the major moves.
All right, we'll wrap it there. But actually, one last question for you, gentlemen. The price of ETH, where do you see it at the end of the year? Is it undervalued or overvalued right now? Jason, maybe you can go first.
I wish I knew, but I do think that there will be sustained optimism as we now start talking about the upcoming upgrades that will really make Ethereum scalable. The Shanghai upgrade is coming down the pipe in a few months, hopefully. And again, there will be narrative about how ETH is actually scaling and being really usable for the broader community.
Matthew, ETH, undervalued or overvalued right now?
It's undervalued. We have a $8,000 price target on the coin. That's a 5-year price target based on it's a DCF, based on penetration and market share levels that we're tracking. There's larger upside on some of the smaller, more speculative L1s, but those come with higher risk as well. So it's about position sizing here.